programs to cut. Really, what's being cut are people from the judiciary.
District Court Chief Judge Frances Tidingo Gatewood has joined 86 of her colleagues on the federal bench in writing a letter to congressional and Senate leaders expressing grave concern over the impact of the flat funding over the last few years, coupled with sequestration, and the effects that it's had on the judiciary's ability to carry out constitutional and statutory responsibilities. This fiscal year, the District Court of Guam was able to stave off furloughs and layoffs by doing more with less, but with nothing else left to trim. Magistrate Judge Buken Manabusan says any further cuts will directly impact personnel.
If further cuts are made, it really would impact the chamber staff. If we lay off our law clerks and we only really have one, it really hampers our ability to meet all the motions that are pending before the court.
As we reported earlier this week on Primetime, the Federal Public Defender's Office on Guam is taking the hardest hit with a massive 13% cut, crippling their ability to represent federal defendants and bringing into question the viability of the office, as another 10 to 23% cuts have been proposed. Assistant Federal Public Defender Leilani Lujan says sequestration has cut to the bone. Public Defender John Gorman was actually handling all of the 150 cases in the office for about 4 months by himself. Lujan says with only 2 attorneys in the office against the 11 in the U.S. Attorney's Office that will be receiving additional federal funding next fiscal year, providing zealous advocacy is in serious jeopardy.
But it has been shown that federal defenders provide representation at a lower cost than CJA attorneys.
Right.
And the figures roughly anywhere from 10 to 35% less in cost. And so it would not make any sense, fiscally speaking, to route more cases to the private bar for representation. In the long run, it only will cost the government much, much more.
Officials have taken their concerns to Congresswoman Madeline Bordallo, who is committed to working with her colleagues to get increased resources for the federal judiciary. Without it, lawyer representative to the Ninth Circuit Rodney Jacobs says the very fabric of how the nation is governed is threatened.
One hand of our judicial process is still running at high volume, but the other hand, the hand that is supposed to make sure that the process is fair, our defender services, is being cut. And what that means is that the body that makes those decisions cannot do its job.
The additional cuts are anticipated to begin on October 1st. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Mindy Egan.